Hello and welcome back. Finished yesterday, day 15, and moving on to day 16. And I wanted to show you before I took all of this out of the pockets that sometimes if I only have a moment, and I know I won't be able to do a whole entry, but I have maybe a minute or two that I could get things from my desk and put it together, this is what I do. So I have the photo that I knew I was going to use today, and I have some little bits and pieces that I've picked out, and I've just put them in the pockets because that way I could use that couple minutes constructively, but I wouldn't have to stop halfway through the gluing and then forget my train of thought. So that's what all this is inside here, and I can take it all out now to create my entry for today, just in case that inspires any sort of thought on how you can maximize your time. So today, day 16, is our culture and entertainment entry. And I thought a lot about different things that I could include here because I think over the years to come I'll be including a lot of reactions to Wonder Boy watching Christmas specials that I grew up watching. And obviously his generation will have his own as well. But thank goodness for iTunes and things like that having my old favorites online as well, so I know that he'll be able to watch things like that. But I think that's something that's going to come in years to come, and this year I thought I would use today's entry to write about how the elf on a shelf phenomenon is working in our house with such a young one. He's certainly embraced the elf concept. He loves going to find the elf every day. And we read the book quite often, but I know that whole concept of the elf watching and reporting back to Santa, that's completely lost here this year. But it's still very fun for him to look around and find the elf every day. And then instead of, the book tells you that the children must never touch the elf. Yeah, he doesn't understand that. But he does understand find the elf, give the elf a cuddle, and then hand him to Mommy or Daddy so that we can put him back on the shelf. And I'm fine with that, but I thought that's a really lovely moment for me to go ahead and record this year, because next year he probably will understand the don't touch the elf. So I thought that was something unique for the culture and entertainment factor this year. Okay, so I have this side planned out. I was going to put my page number on, or my day number on this card with my tree, big tree die cut, and that busy pattern paper in the background. And then I'll have this one for journaling and this one for the photo, and two little bits of matching embellishment. That's my plan. I thought I would embrace the kind of black and white or gray and white combination here because I printed this photo in black and white because the color wasn't great. It's a dark morning and there wasn't enough light, but if I put it into black and white I could boost the exposure without blowing out the skin tones. So it worked a little bit better at black and white. So I just thought I would pick up on that and used the black labels and this gray and cream film strip pattern paper. Then I said yesterday I was going to make a point to stamp more because I haven't stamped as much as I would have liked. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to stamp my numbers, and I made sure yesterday after I said that I would sort out one of the things that's been keeping me from stamping, and that is that right before we started this project, before December, I cleaned my craft space and actually got some help tidying because it was in such a state, and got everything into a good spot, which included putting away my heat gun in a place which completely escaped my mind. Until yesterday I decided, right, I'm going to go through every drawer until I find it, and now I have my heat gun. So I'm going to do some embossing with my numbers. I'm going to use both sets, and I'm going to use this pattern paper. I just moved my book up here out of the way. So I'm going to stamp my 16 first with colored dye ink in the solid numbers, and then I'm going to use embossing ink and some embossing powder to put the tiny little stars or dots over the top. I'm going to put them in a little circle. Okay, so red ink is coming out first to do my 16, and I'm putting this on top of this pattern paper that looks a bit like newsprint or book text, but it's actually all Christmas phrases. Okay, so I've got that solid, I do that 6 again. There we go. Solid bit of color, the background, and then I'm going to use sticky Versamark ink. Of course you could use whatever ink you like for heat embossing to do these tiny little dots on top. And if you're using a sticky embossing ink like Versamark, it is a good idea to remember to clean your stamps. I'm not great on cleaning my stamps ordinarily, but Versamark, because it's sticky, it kind of, there's a point where it gets, the sticky transfers to the stamp permanently. Then no matter how many times you wash the stamp, it stays sticky. So I try when I'm using Versamark to make sure I get it to a point where it doesn't stick to my finger before I put it away. Colored inks you can clean later and it's not the biggest problem in the world. And you can still stamp with one that's sticky, but it's sticky and that is sometimes annoying. Okay, embossing powder going on. This is silver metallic embossing powder. Okay. And then heat. As a finishing touch, I'm going to use 2 vellum labels. This larger one I'm going to stamp with the Never Ever Naughty wording here. And then this smaller one I'm going to add the On the Nice list. Those two, if you have this stamp set, they also are designed to fit together on one label so that you can do Never Ever Naughty in this little arc, and then the On the Nice list will fit underneath in a straight line, but I'm going to put it on 2 separate labels today. And because I did the embossing here in silver to match the silver foil, but I have gold foil here, I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to add the silver metallic here with that embossing powder so that I can do that little trick that I've been wanting to include here and there, and that's to have my gold and silver on the same pages so that there's a mix throughout the album. So I'm just going to use my Versamark ink and that same embossing powder on the vellum, and then I'll adhere that maybe with a staple, we'll see. Okay, I have good news and I have bad news. And I didn't have the camera on, or I would have let you just see what happened. So this is the good news. This one worked pretty well. The Never Ever is not completely clear. It's mushed together a little bit because the embossing powder I was using was not a detail powder. And a detail powder would be much better for small text like that. But I think in the context, I can tell what it says, and it's not so bad that I wouldn't include it. So I'm going to call that a win. I was just looking if I wanted to staple it. I have stapled the other one, so I'll go ahead and staple this one. And I think I had a little red star pulled out as well. Just stick a pop dot on the back of that. And then this card will be all finished. There they are. Then I'll show you what did not work to plan. Oh my. Okay. Red star there. And this one into the pocket it goes. Okay, this pocket. Okay, because I did this one first and I realized that this powder not being a detail powder was never going to work for this tiny little stamp where it's in the negative. The banner is what has the ink and then the letters are cut out from that. So I decided instead I would use these, instead of embossing that one, I would emboss these 3 little stars. And I did this in just plain black pigment ink and embossed these 3, which I wanted to carry over from the label to the pieces behind, so I did it on top of here. And when the heat hit the acetate, it immediately started to crinkle like this. I pulled the heat off of it straight away, and I think, oh, you can decide what you would think if it was on your project. I think at this amount of crinkle, I kind of like how it looks like it's just been crinkled to go on a present, like it's kind of in the wind, or like you've just crimped this end to put it onto a tag. Maybe I'm stretching, maybe that's reaching, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in my album. But there you go. Lesson learned. These acetate pieces, do not hit them with a heat gun unless you want them to shrivel up into a tiny little ball like that. Okay, so I think that's everything for this particular layout. For this particular entry in my album. So that'll be day 16. I hope your day 16 is great and has no disastrous events with a heat gun. Be careful out there, yeah? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.